to saying stuff and you like, hey, can we crop that out? It's fine. It's possible.
Yes, we have to edit our own shit sometimes. So, you know, it happens. Shawana, you just want to introduce the topic and then you want me to go ahead and start from the background info and then we can go from there?
Yes, I will do that. Okay, so first of all, I want to welcome all of our guests back for tuning into this special series of grief. Well, the special series is grief. We talked about in part 1, we had Dr. Mikkel on, and we talked about just how grieving in general, when you have a loss of somebody, death related, how it affects those connections around you. Sometimes your personal connections change, and we just kind of wanted to continue the series to talk about what this episode will be about: grieving people who are still alive, grieving people who you still have to interact with on a day-to-day basis, or maybe you don't interact with them so much because of the fact, or I'm sorry, grieving the type of relationship you would like to have with them if you still have to deal with them. Because I know my grief in particular is with like parentals. So I can't necessarily not interact with them, but I'm grieving the type of connection that I would like to have with them. So I'm so thankful. Me and Brittany are very thankful to have you guys on today. So for all of our listeners, we want to introduce you to our special guest. Brittany, I will let you have the honor of doing that.
Oh, thank you. This is special for me because y'all represent like 3 different parts of my life, which is very, very strange. So I'll start with the beginning of it all. Sidni, I don't know when we met, maybe we were like 7. We used to cheer together for rec cheerleading, that we went to school together. Sidni is an author, but I will let her introduce herself. She's one of my favorite authors. I'm not saying that because I know her. She can write her ass off. So Sidni, I'll let you start with introducing yourself.
Hey y'all, Brittany already said I'm Sidni. I am, girl, look, I be getting my ages mixed up because I know I'm 32. I tell people I'm 32 already, but I'm 31. I do write books, which is a crazy, crazy roller coaster adventure ride for moi. I'm also recently divorced. So that's like a huge adjustment process, whatever. But that is me and the little parts that make me. So, hey, y'all.
And we have Asya, who I met in college. So, yeah, a whole different piece of my life. Asya was on what episode was that? Jesus Christ. We're going to figure that out. Maybe we'll insert it. I don't know. But Asya did an episode with us before, so I will let her reintroduce herself.
Okay, so I'm Asya. I have a blog, Brown Sugar and Sasson. I've actually taken some time off from that because I had graduated and trying to figure out all that afterwards. So I'm about to pick that back up because, you know, life happens. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my big bullet point there, is I like to write too.
Hey, girl.
All my writing people are, yes, craziness. Okay, so we're here to talk about grieving people while they're still alive. And one of the reasons why I thought of the 2 of you was because I felt like y'all wouldn't be afraid to be transparent about a topic that is very touchy, because I think when people think grief, we always associate it with death and not the fact that there are relationships that we either have to sever or we have to alter them, you know, to be in a better place or to be a better person, or sometimes they're just not healthy for us. So one thing I wanted to highlight was I was just researching some stuff online, and this article is talking about when people pass away. But as I read it, this is literally what happens when you have to cut somebody from your life, or you have to like take a step away from them. So when you lose a person that's close to you, it's natural to grieve. The process takes time and involves many different emotions. Grief is when a person has an emotional response when they experience loss. Mourning is the process of adapting to life after a loss, and bereavement is a state of having experienced a loss. And I find that so interesting because people don't take losses as seriously as we should if the people are still here. For some reason, I feel like our generation and the younger generation really be on this, like, you know, fuck them, like, I ain't got time. And it's like, it's really not that simple. Like, y'all really be capping on the internet. Like, I just be cutting people off and moving on. Like,
meanwhile, you scrolling through your phone, looking back at pictures of the people like, damn, I missed
This shit hurt.
yes, going through all types of messages, replaying scenarios, and it's just like, no, that shit really be having you like stuck. So yeah, I just needed a group of people that I knew would be able to be like, no, for real, that shit is not fun. Like, it sucks. I know it's glamorized to be like, oh yeah, I cut them off. Like, I don't care. Like, they ain't this, they ain't that. I moved on. And it's just like, it's just not that simple as people try to make it. So yeah, anything you guys want to say to how social media has just put on this fake persona of moving on from toxic situations or cutting people off as if we snap our fingers and it's done and our emotions are done. But I feel like, as we all know, those emotions linger for a long time sometimes, and it's just not that simple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will say, like, I am still grieving a friendship that was, I don't want to say it was completely severed, but like it was definitely altered like almost 6 years ago. So for me, it was specifically, I had been friends with a group of girls since 8th grade. And we were friends from 8th grade up and through college. And then 2015 hit and I got severely depressed. So I withdrew from my friend circle, but I was hanging out with like other friends, but it was very surface level. So to them, it looked like I was basically saying, well, fuck y'all, I don't want to hang out with y'all no more. Meanwhile, I'm like over here drowning, and we were so young that no one really understood to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, so, and like I said, I had been friends with them since 8th grade. So they're still, and they're also friends. And one of them is my cousin. So like I talk to her, and another girl, like I kind of check in on her here and there. But when I see them out, hanging out and going places and taking trips and doing stuff, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's never going to go back to how it was because we're not the same people.
Right. That's true. Damn, that's rough.
I'll piggyback off of Asia because I feel like I'm still grieving a friendship too. And I feel like I don't know, I cannot contribute it to this, but kind of the same situation. We were young when we were going through stuff, and you know, you couldn't see it for like what it was. It was just for face value. This is what it seems to me. And this particular person still hangs with my family. So it's because we were that close, like it was that close of a connection. So it's just very strange to the encounters that we have to have, but the other person isn't really willing to even have a conversation. So it's like we can't even end on like a good note. Like we can't even like have well, you know, because they say closure, we have to find it within ourselves now. And I do believe in that. But it's very hard to do when you kind of have to still not interact, but have that person in your space from time to time. And then they're just not willing to, you know what I'm saying? So I can definitely relate in that aspect.
I'm grieving a friendship from like 2 years ago. Am I grieving any other friendships? I say this every episode, y'all. I have been through some people. I am not proud of that. Now that, you know, I'm over 30, I am a way better friend. I feel like I pick better friends. But I feel like you don't, especially when you're younger, like a lot of shit is taken personal, and then a lot of shit just doesn't make sense to us from our standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we have poor communication skills. And then, you know, as we get older, you're kind of like, oh shit, like I have to talk. or like, oh, I have to be honest with these people, or I have to call these people out. And I literally had this conversation with my cousin yesterday, and it was so weird. I was telling her, because she's in her 20s, and she was telling me about something that happened with her and one of her friends. And I told her, when you're friends with somebody for a long time, so this is a childhood friendship of mine also, I was like, you get entitled. I was like, y'all overstep each other's boundaries all the time. And I was like, eventually it comes to a head. And I was like, you're on your side, like, you doing too much, and she's on her side, like, we've always done stuff this way, so what is the problem? And I think as you grow and you become individuals and you change, it's kind of like, I told her, if you can survive a childhood friendship through your 20s, I feel like y'all are good. But I feel like something about that maturing and becoming adult in your 20s, it like either make or break you pretty much. So yeah, I feel like when it's like a misunderstanding or miscommunication, I feel like that's when it sucks. Cause it's easier to be like, oh, somebody fucked my man or they stole from me. But when it's something like, if it's something like we could have had a conversation, I think that's what like makes the grief just stick around. Cause you're just like, we really could have handled this differently, but you aren't always in the place to handle things, I guess, the best way you can.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. One of my most notorious friendships, like Brittany, you didn't watch us go through this. Me and Tiara go through this cycle back and forth. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God. I think we became friends when we were 19, and she's 30 now. I'm 31. We stopped talking. We were on the phone the other day counting how many times we stopped speaking to each other in a year, because we would like get into these whatevers and then we would just stop talking. Like she would block me or I would block her or whoever, whatever. And it was always something so, now looking back at it, it was always something so trivial, or something where her feelings were hurt, but she wanted to act like her feelings were hurt. Wanted to act like her feelings weren't hurt because she didn't want me to feel a certain type of way, but now she's mad, so something little happens, and then it's like this whole blow up, and we didn't get into an argument, and it just stems from her feelings being hurt about something, but she's so scared to bother me as her friend, she doesn't want to tell me that her feelings are hurt. So we ended up the very last time, it was bad, like it got real bad, but I don't even know how we started talking this time. Honestly, I honestly can't tell you. But we just sat down and had a major conversation, and both of our points were, it was really easy for me to be like, well, Tiara did X, Y, Z, 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 blah, 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 blah. But it was really hard for me to be like, well, bitch, what did you do to make her feel like that? Like, did you not see something from her point of view? Because even if you feel like she's wrong, you still could have gave her the courtesy of acknowledging her feelings and seeing it from her point of view. And that was the roughest part of growing into an adult friendship, is you not always right and that person is not always wrong. And you have to be like, damn, did I do this? Like, did I cause this? Because you just want to be like, no, you did, and not, well, damn, maybe I did.
Yeah.
That was like our biggest point.
Yeah, that checking yourself be rough sometimes. You just be like, ain't as good a friend as I thought it was. But, it is what it is.
That's the second part, is realizing that you might not have been a good friend. I think it took me until last year to get that, because same, like, I done been through some friends, okay? Some friends. And at some point, it was like, maybe it's a friend.
Like, maybe I'm the damn problem. God damn, like, I don't know. And I always used to be like, is this normal? Like, do other people have these kind of problems that I have with other people? Like, is it really me? Like, God damn, like, I've been through some people. But yeah, I feel like once, like, around 30, I was kind of like, okay, Brittany, we're gonna have to do some shit different this time, because no, ma'am, this is not okay. This is just not okay. So I know we just touched on some personal stuff. Do y'all want to dive deeper? Because I have some family members who, I have had to Had to leave them folks where they at, honey. So I guess I'll start. So my half sister has been drug addicted my whole entire life. And we had we're 19 years apart, so let me say that. So she has literally only experienced me as like significantly being younger than her. So when I was younger, she was in and out of jail a lot. And if you have been around anybody who has, been incarcerated or been drug addicted, when they are sober, when they're incarcerated, a lot of promises are made, a lot of, what do I want to call it? A lot of what I'm going to do happens. And then unfortunately, when they fall back into their cycles or whatever they're doing, all of that shit goes out the window. So for me, I spent a great deal of my childhood, my adolescence, my early 20s, literally trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do with this relationship? And my daddy tried to put something there. And then when I was old enough to get vocal about it, I was just like, you put this pressure on me for us to be sisters. But I was like, I'm not dealing with just a normal, breathing, regular person who's sane. I was like, I'm dealing with somebody who is on drugs. So I'm like, the effort is not the same. I was like, the thought process is not the same. And then also, if you've dealt with anybody who is addicted to substances, there is a lot of blame. And a lot of times the shit does not make sense. So for example, there have been conversations about how I acted towards my sister when I was little. And I'm like, ma'am, I was like 7 or 8. I don't know what attitude you think I had towards you. And by that time you were damn near 30, but okay, I acted away towards you. So that's why you weren't around. Okay, you got it. So for years, I carry around a lot of anger towards her, not just because she wasn't around like she was supposed to be. It was also the broken promises, and then also seeing the stress she put my daddy through. Because, if you have anybody, not just a child, but any family member who is like in the streets and living that lifestyle, it's very normal for you to worry about them or what they're doing. Are they alive? Like, are they okay? So for years, I struggled with do I try to make it work for the sake of, that's my sister, we share DNA. I always wanted to have like a big sister. So do I make it work for the sake of that? And then in like 2017, 2018, maybe, one of my therapists we talked about it, and she was just like, if y'all somehow reconciled and, she got clean and everything was just better, she was just like, y'all would still never have the relationship that you want to have. And for me, that was a game changer because I felt like it was true. I mean, so much time has been lost. So many things have changed now that, I'm in my 30s, which if you do the math, that will put my sister in her 50s. Like, it's no way we are going to be little sister, big sister. Like, we could have like a form of that, but the child inside of me, like that person that I get to go do things with, I get to hang with, I get to like share all my deepest secrets with, like, we're probably not going to have that, because would I ever get to a point where I actually trusted her? Doubt it. So it took for someone to kind of point out, like, it's okay to grieve what didn't happen and what was, but it just didn't make sense for me to keep putting her in this box of, I want you to be on this pedestal to be my big sister, because in reality, we're never just gonna have that. And not in the sense of being pessimistic, it's just reality of where we are today and where life has taken us. So that has been one of my biggest challenges of having to grieve somebody who is very much breathing, who used to live like 15 minutes from me before I moved, and we had like no contact. But it was just healthier for me to not deal with somebody who is still on drugs and has been on drugs this long. So yeah.
Yeah, well, piggybacking off of Britt, that is 100% me and my mom. Like, anybody who knows my mom loves her. She has like a very wild personality. Like, you hear her name, you know who she is automatically. And it makes it hard to navigate a relationship with her because I know who she is outside of that. I know things, I've seen things, I've experienced things from her that it gives me a distorted view of her. So our relationship is so weird, and it's so hard when people don't really know that person. They just know what they see, and then they see something and they're looking at you like, well, why are you acting like that? Or why are you being that way? It's like, you need to mind your business because you don't know this like I do. Like, this has been my life she's been, I want to say that I know of since I was 9. So she just turned 67. I think she said, even given her own background, like she's been dibbling and dabbling and shit since she was married to her second husband. That was way before I was even here. So it's like, of course, like you're a little kid, like you want a regular mom. Like you want a mom that you could talk to, you could tell your problems. Like she always protected us. I will always give her that. Like her and my dad, they always protected us. They never put us in any weird situations. If they felt like people were weird around us, and they would handle it. But I still don't feel like I have a mom. Like to this day, I think me and my husband separated like over a year and a half ago. I still can't go to her and talk to her about what actually happened. Like, I can't talk to her about anything because it just turns into a whole parade. Then she wants to call this person and cuss this person out. She wants to call this person and do this. She wants to call this person and do that. She wants to show up at somebody's house and act a fool or whoever, whatever. Or she doesn't care because she's in one of her cycles. She's just like, okay, well, what you telling me for? Yeah. So now it creates like a real unbalance because when she's fine, she calls me and she wants to know what's going on, and she's so interested in my life, and why don't I come see her? Why don't I call her and talk to her? And like I don't tell her things, and then you fall for the trap. Every once in a while, you fall for the trap. I'm like, okay, well, this is what happened, and da 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 da. Like I can remember a certain situation where I was upset about something like within my marriage or whatever. It was really stupid. And I was talking to her about it just to talk to her about it. It wasn't, I actually told her like, Mom, I think I got anger issues. Like I should probably go to therapy because that shouldn't have pissed me off the way that it pissed me off. Like I'm talking about myself, right? Like a week later, here I come getting a phone call like, your mom said that you was blah, 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 and this, that, and the third, and such ain't doing X, Y, Z. And I'm like, what the fuck? What? That's not what was said. Like I didn't say any of that, but she just goes on these like whole, I don't know what you call them. I feel like her inner child is still looking for something, like some sort of attention or whatever, maybe. And she just like creates these whole scenarios that she's at the center of because she's bored. I don't know. But as for me and my piece, because I get pissed off really, really quickly, like I'm always ready to just like defend myself or spaz out or whatever. I just had to get to a place where I had to accept that in a traditional sense of having a mom, I'm not going to have that. Like I have my dad, which is cool, like, but it's still not my mom. Yeah. And it sucks because at some point you just have to accept that that's how that person wants to live their life, and whatever consequences of that is their own consequences. Like even as a kid, like you feel like it's your fault. Like, oh, what can I do to help her? Like if I call her, is she gonna feel better? Like if I go see her, will she feel better? Like if I give her money, will she like? You go through all these scenarios about what you can do, and there's really nothing you can do. It's just an acceptance type of thing. Like it is. This is what it is, and that's what it's gonna be.
Very true.
Well, I feel like Brittany probably looking right at me because Sidni, if I could just copy and paste everything you just said and made it come out my mouth,
word for word, like verbatim.
That is, my mama just called me yesterday out of the blue. Her way of like trying to go ahead and make some, like, don't try to say I don't call you, was to explain why I haven't heard from her. And like, since I moved, I've been living here for a month. Her thing was, oh girl, I was just bedridden for 2 weeks and she's always it's not funny. It's not funny, but I couldn't move my neck. I couldn't get out the bed. I had to drag myself from my room to the bathroom to use the bathroom, and I had nobody help me. So that's her way. Okay, this is why you ain't heard from me now. Why I ain't heard from you? What we doing for Thanksgiving? This and this and that. I mean, just this very cavalier, like I'm her homegirl and she's not my mom. Like, and I think I had talked about this on the previous episode. Like, I need a mother. I have plenty of girlfriends. I don't need you to be my girlfriend, but that is the only way that my mom feels comfortable, because if not, she feels guilty because she knows that she has never showed up as a mom. So her way, they emotionally manipulate us all the time because they know we want to have a better relationship. They know they're not able to give it, but they just try to like pretty much make it seem like, okay, I'm gonna give you what I can give you, but don't get mad at me because this is what I got going on. And it's really unfair. And like you said, it's unfortunate, but I think it's so crazy that you even went as into detail as you did, because I literally just did a meditation about for a group that's forgiving mothers. And one of the affirmations was, I accept the reality of my connection with my mom, because I think that's what kept me in cycles for so long. In my head, eventually, even if it took till I was 45, 55, eventually I'm gonna be able to have this connection with my mama. And I'm not, even if she gets sober. Like she is not able, you know, she's gonna have to start reparenting her life from the time she was 19, because that's where her trauma, you know, that's where the mindset that she's in, a 19-year-old. So there's no way in the world, even if she were to get sober, that I'm gonna have the connection that I think I want to have, because she would still have to start her life over. So it's like, it is what it is. And I think the hardest part of grieving for me was, or actively is, the acceptance piece, because it does make you upset sometimes, because regardless to how much we understand, regardless to us being able to even have insight on what they went through, it doesn't take away the fact that we need nurturing in that way. So I just, like I said, I'm not even going to speak further from that, because you literally said everything. So I'm glad we're having this discussion, because I could use, you know, whatever in this situation. I don't know anymore. I just try to take it day by day.
It's crazy too, because the nurturing part is so crazy, because I'm so rough around the edges because of my relationship with her. And I honestly lack empathy for a lot of people in situations because of her, because it's like, it's taken advantage of. Like, you call me and you're like, oh, you have $20. Oh, well, I do XYZ for you, and you can't even give me, can't even give me $20. Like, I told you I would give it back, or blah, blah, blah. And it's just like the whole guilt trip or whole whatever. But then there's my brother on the other side. That's the golden baby.
Oh, yeah.
He's the golden baby. Okay. Like, but me, it's like, I'm the one that's responsible for dealing with the fallout of your BS, but you don't even give me anything for that. Like, I've moved. I think my mother has been to my house since I moved out twice. Like, she offered to help me cook for Thanksgiving one year. I think she showed up for an hour and bounced. Like, she offered to go out her way to help me clean up my last apartment when I moved out. She never showed up. She called me, she was sick. Oh, I don't feel good. I'm having trouble breathing today. But let it be the other child. Oh, she can be there for about 3 or 4 weeks, doing whatever she got to do to make sure it's okay.
They show up for them for some reason, but not even, it's toxic though. It be toxic. And I learned that too. I don't even want that. Like, I don't want that. They do this just wild stuff with each other. Like, they fight in 1 minute, they cuss each other out, kick each other out of the house, but they're there. I'm like, I don't want that.
But I don't want to be the one to have to clean up after that either. Like, if you're going to leave me alone, then just leave me alone. Like, just let it be what it is. I don't want to be, you don't feel good, or you feel some type of way, because when everybody else treats you some type of way, then you want to come calling me, but you treat me some type of way. So who am I supposed to talk to about what you do?
Right.
I mean, my scenario is similar but different, because for me, it's my dad. But he's been sober for probably at least 7 years now, maybe longer. I can't keep up, honestly, because he'd be clean and then he would not be clean and then he'd be clean. But this has been the longest period. And it's funny, Sidney, that you mentioned the age 9, because that's kind of where it all started for me, was when we were 9 and we moved to New Jersey and we were around his side of the family. And that's when I was like, something's off with Dad, but I didn't know at the time that he was doing cocaine. I just knew that he was drinking a lot. So I had all of those same feelings, because it'd be like all these, and then he was going to prison and in and out of jail and stuff. So it's like all these empty promises and what I'm going to do and how I'm going to change and how things are going to be different when I get out. And then he would get out and do the same shit after a few months. And I'm just at that point in time, especially when I left and went to college, I was like, I can't do you anymore. Like, I can't. I'm not going to. I love you. Mom can do whatever she wants to do. And I felt a lot of guilt for leaving because my brother and sister were still there. But I knew that I could not survive still living under the same roof as him, because I would have, I mean, honestly, I did pull a back on my dad one time because it got that bad. And I was just like, you're not going to keep treating us like this. Someone's going to stick up for us, and it's going to be me. And now where we're at, like, I had to grieve that to be able to try and build a relationship with him now. Like, now he'll call me and, like I said, he's clean and he's sober and he's trying to overcompensate in a way, because he's always like, well, do you need anything? And can I do this? And he'll be like, oh, I bought you this. So when you come up, you can come and get, I don't need all of that. What I needed was Dad. Mm-hmm. And now that's all I feel myself like it's still kind of strained, but at the same time, I've gone through enough healing to be able to say, okay, I understand that person that you were still stuck in that headspace of where your trauma started. Mm-hmm. So I just have to make a conscious effort to know that I can't get stuck in that 9-year-old mind space where my trauma started.
So I have a question. Brittany, did you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Because y'all, first of all, I'm just kind of, the way that all of our stories kind of connected is like blowing my mind right now. So that's why I'm kind of just like taking it all in. But I wanted to ask, because I feel like we're all at the point of, we're at acceptance, even though we're actively working through acceptance. But how has doing that and navigating, okay, this is what works, this isn't what works, this is a trigger, this is what's going to take me over the edge, this is what I can handle, how has that affected like your most intimate relationships that you currently are in outside of them? So how has that like impacted those relationships?
I don't have a lot of patience. I'm gonna be honest.
Fire.
Patience is real cold. It's real. I'm just like, you know what, I don't have to deal with this shit. I'm out.
I'm out.
No, thank you, ma'am.
Oof. So for me, I would say my relationship with my sister is the common denominator in my failed friendships. I would either be like, let me do everything possible so that you know that like I am like your friend, I'm like your best friend, and you don't have anything to worry about, and I don't even care if you don't give me half of that back, but I'm just going to show up for you because that's what people are supposed to do. So I was always in this, like, let me prove myself, because where I tried to prove myself did not work. So as an adult, I understood that it was my sister and not me. But as a child, clearly there's something that she either does not see in me or appreciate enough for her to be around like she's supposed to. So clearly there's something that I don't have or I am lacking. Mm-hmm. So that's how I showed up in my friendships. Like, basically, let me do everything in my power to make sure that you don't leave. And then, even though she wasn't a parental figure, I, to this day, which I am actively working on, I suffer with abandonment issues. Even though it's secondhand abandonment, if I feel like you leaving me hanging, or I feel like you leave stuff undone with me, that is a trigger for me. And I know that that stems from her leaving so much undone. I tell people all the time, if you would have asked me like her favorite color or like what she liked growing up, I have no idea. We have never even had the chance to actually build a relationship because that's how absent she was. So I don't know her. Like I tell people, you know, that's my half sister. Anything that I know about her, I know from like my daddy or like her family, but I don't know her as a person. So for me, that showed up all the time in my friendships. And so it literally took me until I was an adult to understand that's why I was kind of letting people do me however they wanted to, because I was always in a state of, no, I have to prove to them that like, I'm like a great, phenomenal friend. They need to know that, they need to experience it. And then if I do that, then they're not going to leave me. But as you all know, I mean, people going to carry their ass either way.
Regardless.
So, it showed up all the time in I just didn't know that that's what it was. I just thought, you know, oh, this is, you know, somebody else who I'm breaking ties with. I just didn't know that, you know, hell, even if it's not your parents, if it's somebody who's close to you and the relationship is toxic or not right, it still very much so affects you. I'm literally living proof of it. So it showed up in my friendships all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with that. I feel like looking back now at like my friends that I had and the friendships that I had when I was younger, I was always that friend that felt like I have to be there for you. I have to understand where you're coming from. I have to be the caring friend. But then when it came to my own feelings, I wasn't paying attention to those. It was just like, I'll be fine. You're strong. You got to keep going. You've been through worse.
Yep.
So that definitely was a trigger for me, is the whole trying to be this perfect friend. And I had so much patience back then, but now I feel like once I turned 30, a light bulb went off and was like, no, man, we're not doing this anymore. We grown now. We got to work about self because we'll look out for you better than you.
Yeah, for real.
That's very true. Very, very true. For me, it kind of had the opposite effect, because once I figured out everything that was happening, and then there was so much happening like in our household, like it would be like, of course, you know, typical shit with drug addicts. Lights would be cut off, water might be off this week, whoever, whatever. It created like a lot of embarrassment, and I didn't want anybody to know. So I was like very withdrawn from people. And it spills over into my adult life now, because if you put me in a room with like people I don't know, I won't say a word. Like I don't know how to talk to or interact with people in a way that doesn't like give me anxiety, because I've spent so much time trying to not be around people, like trying not to be seen. Like I don't want anybody to talk to me. I don't want whatever, because it's that fear of like, oh shoot, like somebody's gonna figure out XYZ is happening. And then when you're a kid, you don't realize how common this is.
No.
Yeah.
You know, like you feel like everybody else has like these great middle class lives and they just have this and their parents are so that, and then there's my parent, and you don't realize how many people are going through the same thing. And then kids are mean, so everything that they're dealing with they take out on like other kids, whatever. So it's just created like a whole I don't like to be around people type of thing. And then, like I said earlier, I lack a lot of empathy in certain situations at times, because I just look like, okay, boo-hoo, sad story. I've heard this 100 times. Like, you're lying. You're a liar. Like, this is not what it is. You're going to turn around and do the same thing. Like, who cares? Whatever. So it's been really, really hard trying to break myself out of that and be like, okay, see, not everybody that has a sob story is a liar. You know, some people actually go through this shit and they're trying to do better.
I definitely agree with the whole embarrassment thing. Like as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah. Because for me though, that made me want to be around my friends more. Like I wanted to be at their houses and, you know, they had these perfect lives, or so I thought. So I wanted to spend all my time with them and not be at home because I knew we didn't have a lot of food. I knew that the cable was off or the lights were off or maybe the water might be off for a couple of days. And I knew I was going to have to go to my grandma's house or something like. So the embarrassment for me made me kind of cling to my friendships more in my childhood.
And I would say I did both. I was more so Brittany growing up. In my 20s, I was Sidni. And then like, and I didn't done it all, I feel like. And I think I'm now actively learning the balance as far as just like, no, I can just be, and then like, you know, my friendships are what they are. I don't have to like, I was trying to find family in my friends because I didn't have family at home. So I had to kind of just understand like, I was trying to merge something I didn't have with the people that I felt like, okay, y'all love me because y'all show up for me in this way. Y'all care for me. So I'm gonna like put like a whole family dynamic on you or try to attack, you know, be codependent on you because I can't depend on my mom or my dad. My dad was drug addicted as well. He got clean, but my mom still actively struggles. So I just found myself trying, I was always, my therapist this year actually like revealed that she was like, you're always looking for family. Like you always talk about like, oh, you found your soul tribe, you found your friends and this and that. And she's like, that's something that you kind of gotta cultivate from within. You find your own sense of what you want that to be, and then you kind of attract it. But before I just felt like I was trying to find my people. So, I will say that to run into the next thing. So how have you found balance?